we start quickly with a short introduction round. I guess most of you will know here our guests, but maybe we start with Matt. Maybe a little bit to your vita, what you are coming from, what you are doing, which country you are living.
Sure. My name is Matt Cully. I have the YouTube channel Matt from SMM, formerly known as Suck My Mod. I am from the United States. I live in Montana. On to you, Phil.
Okay, hey folks, Pete Busardo. I own tasterjuice.com. Did a lot of reviewing. Right now I work with Inikin as a kind of a brand ambassador and a designer, and also behind the now missing unsalted home of watermelon peach, the #1 best-selling flavor in the unsalted line.
G'day guys, you probably know me as the Vaping Bogan from Australia, soon to be the most oppressive vape nation in the world. I have a YouTube channel where I drink beer and talk about vapes.
Okay, maybe we start with you, Bogan. So I hear a lot of negative things from Australia currently. What's going on?
Well, I guess simply the government has created a black market a few years ago with the introduction of a prescription-only system for nicotine. And now that what we told them would happen, the black market has exploded, particularly with youth. They're doubling down on their prohibitive measures, and they're looking to basically ban all importation of non-pharmacy designated vapor products. So in simple terms, the only vapor products you will be able to get are pharmacy, prescription-only, government-approved vapor products, probably similar to what you get your patches and gums and lozenges in. So it'll be a full monopoly just for the pharmaceutical industry.
Will this have every effect on your daily work, on your community work?
That's going to remain to be seen. They haven't actually brought any legislation in yet. They haven't even really tabled any of the details. They've just told us that they're going to ban the importation of not only nicotine and 0 milligram liquids, but also any vapor products, so hardware and things like that, which could potentially cause an issue for myself. But like we've done in the past, we'll find a way. But for the average vapor, it's going to mean basically you're not going to have any consumer choice anymore.
So one way you could stay in Germany, here's no problem.
Yeah. Seriously contemplating jumping ship.
Yeah, I was going to explain how bad it is in the United States, but now that I'm sitting next to you, it doesn't seem so bad anymore.
Aren't they actually going to be? Couldn't they be jailing people in Australia as well? I saw that there's hefty fines, but even a 2-year prison sentence.
They're looking on, the focus is going to be on the importation. So, if you're a company that's importing products for sale, I don't think they're going to go after the individual consumer. If you were caught with a non-government prescribed vape, they're not going to go after that individual, or even someone probably trying to bring in just one mod. But if you are trying to import any sort of banned products with the intent to then sell them, there's going to be some pretty hefty fines and things like that. But they don't have any idea.
Prison.
Yeah, and prison time.
Prison time.
Yeah.
For quitting smoking.
You could go to jail for,
that's
importing
bonkers.
vapor.
And cigarettes are still available
Oh, yeah.
everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds
you're
a
gonna
little
need
bit
to-
ridiculous, but okay.
You need to get a prescription and go to a pharmacy to get vapor products, but you can go to any service station and any supermarket and buy tobacco products.
Okay, Australia is an island. I hope it will be in future also an island. But Phil, do you think this wave could also hit US or some other countries?
Of course it can, and it is in a way. We have the PMTA, the pre-market tobacco application. I think 2 companies have gotten through now. They are just tobacco flavored products. No flavored products have made it through.
Cigalike style products.
Cigalikes, yeah.
No one's using.
Outdated.
I don't know anyone
technology.
that's ever used the authorized products. I don't know if you do.
No.
Someone has to be buying the views, though. They authorized it, and who makes the
Yeah, but
views?
it's not. It
PMI?
wasn't even the good views. It was their.
Yeah.
It wasn't the pod system views. It was the little Cigalike views they authorized, which I don't even see that in gas stations.
Yeah, that's
usually.
true. Yeah.
The problem is we're battling 2 huge organizations. We're battling big tobacco and we're battling big pharma. And they have tons and tons of money and tons of lobby power. And it's very, very difficult to get by them. They don't want to eliminate vape products. They just want to be the only ones that are selling vape products.
Yeah, but now I see worldwide a real big gap. Yeah, we have United Kingdom, Great Britain. They spend 1 million e-cigarettes to smokers. For me, a perfect role model. And we have the opposite in Australia. So more or less a
Which is crazy
vaping
because
ban.
New Zealand is doing the right thing. They have sensible regulations and restrictions on products and registration processes, but they actively promote vaping as a quit tool and they're embracing it as a harm reduction tool. And they're literally a few, a couple of thousand kilometers, or not even from Australia. And the Australian government, literally just ignores all of that and says they have no plan on banning cigarettes, which is what New Zealand is doing, but they're going to ban vaping. It boggles the mind that they just look at all of the examples in Western countries. It's not like we're talking about a cultural difference or even a governmental difference. The UK and Australia and New Zealand are basically set up the same in terms of how the government is structured, and the health systems are almost copy and paste. So you could literally just take what New Zealand's doing and what the UK is doing and just say, yeah, we're going to do that. But instead, they're going to go and try and bring in quite literally the most prohibitive vaping regulations in the world. Like there are archaic regimes in the Middle East that have more positive vaping policies than Australia.
Yeah.
Vaping's growing in like Pakistan and places like that.
Yeah, countries that
100%.
execute drug dealers are embracing vaping.
Yeah,
But
Philippines.
Australia is saying no. It's worse than cigarettes. The health minister of Australia, a man called Mark Butler, in his press conference, literally, boo. He actually, and these are his words, he said that the 95% safer studies have been debunked, and then proceeded to provide no evidence of this claim whatsoever. So I don't know. It's devastating. Is probably the word to say.
Grimm is today with us on the stage. Hello,
I
Grimm.
made it. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. You guy. Thank you.
Okay, but what do you think, Grimm? What is the trend? So we see these different opinions in the market or regulations.
Sure.
What do you think? What will happen in the future for us, for example?
I think in the United States, everything vape related is going to come down to lawsuits because that's just the United States. And there's lawsuits continually going on, and Juul has settled a bunch of them, and there's one that's going to trial, and there's multiple organizations and suing the FDA over things like this. I think it's going to come down to who can afford the best lawyers, and that's how the U.S. is going to go.
Which just drags things out, right?
Yeah,
They
just drag
stop
things
it,
out.
lawsuit, drag it out even more.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people, when they look at our country, they think, wait, so all these products are illegal, but you guys still are constantly vaping them. We have this big bureaucracy that sets these rules, but their enforcement divisions are horrible. So, the guys that try to follow the rules end up getting screwed because there's a lot of other black market products that are allowed to continuously sell. And the FDA is constantly behind. They're still writing warning letters to products that came out 2 years ago, and that product's not even sold anymore on the shelves.
Yep.
Yeah, but if we would close now the topic for government and laws, and we would look in the other direction for innovations, what I'm personally missing is on the market real vaping innovations. In Germany especially, I miss that a little bit. Maybe we are on the end of innovations for e-cigarettes, I do not know, but what's on your side?
I disagree with that. There's a lot of innovations. I mean, look at all the shapes and colors that the disposables come in now. I mean, there's tons of innovation.
I have a legitimate innovation, and this is what I think we're going to see. It's going to be battery tech. So, like for example, Vaporesso is coming out with these new I forget.
Super condensator or
Yeah,
something?
something condensed batteries or whatever, but they have a 2800 milliamp hour pod mod that's very small. So that's what I'm excited about is the battery tech. I was at another show a few months ago and S'more had put a 2000 milliamp hour battery into a little disposable that was like the size of an elf bar, which so they're able to get more into a smaller space. So that could be interesting and fun to watch in the future.
Also, I guess we discussed it last year, Phil, the water-based liquids. What was the next step? Is it now free release for the market, or what is your next step?
There's one. So we do have Aqueous. Okay, Aqueous associated with Inikin, and it is 30% water. The hope there is to kind of hydrate the mouth, whereas you get dry mouth with the regular vaping. We're trying to get away from that. Also trying to produce the flavors in a clearer method. So yeah, you have Aqueous. But it's interesting to see the innovation, because we've seen the innovation with these devices. They get bigger, they get more complex. And we've seen that with pod devices. Pod devices get more complex, more features. And it's interesting because we're seeing some of that now with disposables. Disposables have screens and they have puff counters. Are we going to get to a point where the disposable gets as complicated as this and then we throw it away? I'm not sure. But I like what Matt is talking about when it comes to innovation. One of the innovations that I would really like to see is e-liquid and throat hit production with less nicotine. Because right now you need more nicotine to get that throat hit. I enjoy the throat hit that I get from vaping. And I'm very, very curious to know if it's the nicotine that I'm dependent on or if it's that sensation that I'm dependent on. So I'd like to see some advancement in nicotine, vaping delivery, and that throat hit that you get with a higher nicotine product.
Yeah, definitely. As someone who definitely enjoys that mouth-to-lung throat hit, if you can get that kind of psychological feeling that you have been, satisfied with nicotine without the nicotine, then maybe we can go, a step further to reducing our nicotine intake.
I know a few years ago there was a company that was working on some different nicotine mixtures, like where they had like the smooth and the hard, and they were doing something to it to regulate the throat hit. But yeah, being able to keep the same throat hit from like 0 all the way up to
exactly, and we've
12
seen it.
would be
We've
great.
seen it tried with things like capsaicin, and it's like a similar throat hit, but it's not quite the same. I want the same.
In the past, was there any innovation directly from Australia what we will miss in future also, or?
No, I mean, in Australia, the industry is a lot smaller, mostly because we have always had to deal with prohibitive measures by the government. So we have never, ever been able to legally buy nicotine vapor products in Australia. You've always had to import nicotine from overseas to then add to your Australian liquids. So the industry is a lot smaller over there, and it hasn't grown at the speed that it has in other places. So that's definitely stifled, I think, some of the innovation side of things. So I don't think there's a whole lot of sort of products that are coming out of Australia from companies. Most of the companies that operate in Australia are either importers, distributors, e-liquid manufacturers, but the technology, not so much.
Special Phil or Grimm, you are traveling around worldwide for such events here, conventions, fairs, and so on. Would you say Germany, US, Australia is a total different market, or are they more or less comparable? You see it, I think.
Yeah, that's tough.
Are there events in the United States
tough.
anymore?
There's no events in the United States anymore, but the hobby market is still really strong in the United States as it is over here. And Elf Bar is releasing a pod. So I think everything old is new again, because it always comes around. And someone who's never tried a squonk or a billet box are trying a squonk or a billet box for the first time like today. So they're just getting into something that we've been using for years. I don't know. I feel like it's all very cyclical, and everything old is new again. And someone's going to discover a top coiler RDTA for the first time. and then that's what they're going to vape.
Yeah,
I
look
mean,
at
squonks have
Genesis
been
atomizers.
popular and then not popular like 4 or 5 times
Yeah,
in our
yeah.
time of vaping.
Exactly.
I remember when Genesis atomizers in 2013, 2014 were like they were so popular back then, and
Yeah.
then nobody used them for like 5 years, and then now everyone's doing but they don't call it a Genesis, it's an RDTA,
Yeah.
and it's the same. This has been around for 10 years, people.
Yeah, yeah.
We just changed the wicking system from a little rolled up piece of mesh to a cable.
Yep.
See, I do think that Europe has a stronger hobbyist market, but that
Yeah.
might just be because a lot of the products are coming out. The hobbyist, small batch stuff is coming out of Europe. We do still have it in the U.S., but it's hard to gauge because we don't have events like this as much anymore.
Yeah.
And I would say that the U.S. probably has more vapors than it's ever had before, but 80% of them are probably using disposables, and obviously they're not, finding a community, so it's kind of hard to gauge the temperature there.
It's hard to sit down at the bar with your disposable using buddies and talk about how you're going to recoil them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good point because you have the disposable user, and it's not like in America they can go to a show and say, "Ooh, what's that?" or "What is that?" and "How does that work?" It's not in front of them; they don't see it.
Yeah, but especially you, Phil, I would say more or less you are part of the vape market. You have own products and so on. Maybe from your point of view, is there a difference in the markets, or what is your main market currently? More US, more Europe, or Asia Pacific?
France is our #1 market for Inikin. Yeah, most of our products are sold in France. I would say maybe 80% overseas from the United States. Yeah, so our market is definitely here, European.
I think the Middle East seems to be a really emerging market over there. They're really starting to embrace vaping in a lot of countries. I know, for example, some of the companies that I work with are sending quite a lot of hobbyist products to places like Iran and even Iraq and and Bahrain and things like that. So I think the Middle East, with a huge smoking culture, and when I was in Dubai last year, we're seeing some pretty innovative products in the electronic hooker department, and I'm not talking about ladies on the street at night, but they've got these pretty innovative products to replicate a shisha, because they have a huge shisha culture. It's extremely bad for you, and it's really bad for the environment. The amount of shisha smoke that is produced on a nightly basis in the Middle East it's like insane in terms of the carbon emissions that they produce. So they're really keen on trying to sort of find ways of getting people off of tobacco products over there.
And if we would ask here special the YouTubers, if you would compare here the communities, this year's German community, I would say, you have a first insight in the German community. I know special Vaping Bogan, Grimm Green, you have a lot of fans also in Germany. Is the community in your countries comparable to the German community, or where are the differences here?
It's hard to gauge the community in the United States because it's all on the internet, right? So I have a Patreon with a Discord that's full of people, and some of them are in Romania and Kuwait and Australia and the Philippines and New Zealand. And
Lucky man.
From kind of all over the world, So when I say the community, I think of the global sort of vape community rather than just the US. Like the majority of my patrons are in the US, and it feels really strong, but I don't have any data to back up how big the community, kind of thing is. I just think of it in a global term.
As far as YouTube analytics go, though, and I've talked to you about this before,
Yeah.
I mean, the views in the U.S. over the last 3-4 years have definitely gone down, but they've been supplemented by views from new countries. Like I've had a lot more views from the Philippines, a lot more
Thailand.
views from Thailand,
Filipinos are
Pakistan's
big
another
vapors.
one. So, I've seen my views get dispersed more evenly throughout the world, as opposed to how it used to be, where it was like 50% plus was coming from the U.S.
Yeah. Thailand is a huge viewer. Obviously, Germany, lots of Europe, but Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, lots of viewers
I
from
think
there.
there are countries where vaping is prohibited or not. So Thailand, I know it, yes, of course. Philippines, I have something in mind. I'm not sure.
The Philippines, it's getting regulated, like legalized and regulated in the Philippines.
A couple of years ago, they were threatening to kill vapors, and now they've basically backtracked in the Philippines and are now trying to make it a regulated industry.
Yeah. Yes.
They've done what the Thais have just done with weed, where they would put you in jail for it, and now they're like, actually, you could just grow it at home.
Yeah. Well, and in Thailand, it's very illegal. Very illegal. And there's still vapors on YouTube from Thailand. And it's like Thailand vapor dude, and he's blowing tricks and reviewing mods. And I'm thinking, it's completely illegal in your country. And the fact that you're on YouTube is such an inspiration to me, because I live in America where it's an inconvenience, but it's not completely illegal, you know? So that kind of gives me a hope that obviously this will survive, because there's people that are so passionate about it that they'll risk, you know, becoming a criminal just to review these on YouTube to get the word out to help other smokers. That's inspiring to me.
I think that's the same now with Australia. I guess you can go in prison if you are owning a device. Is that right, or I'm wrong? If the law is now present and you have still your devices,
No,
what
I don't
can
think,
happen?
I don't think they're going to go after existing old world products, or what they would see as sort of old world pre-ban products. They're very much focused on the importation for sale. That seems to be the rhetoric that they're going after. So if you're trying to get stuff in to sell in a store, they're going to be coming for you. But you know, Mark Butler, if you're listening or you see this, we're not going fucking anywhere, dude. We're not going fucking
Although
anywhere.
if they jailed Bogan, it might be good for vaping, because it's finally, you know, they're throwing somebody that everyone knows
think
in
that
prison.
video would get a
You
lot of
take one for
views.
the team, you know.
We have a GoFundMe for your bailout money
Yeah.
going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll start a GoFundMe for you.
No, we're not going to go down without a fight. And the government thinks that for some reason in the 21st century, although it has never worked in history, prohibition is somehow going to stop this black market that they created over the last couple of
created,
years.
yeah,
They created
yeah.
it with the prescription system they brought in 18 months ago. And I think that banning it is going to somehow make the black market less. It's going to get even bigger. It's going to be even more criminal. And it's going to be an even bigger problem for them. So it's not going to work. It didn't work last time. I don't know whether they know it's not going to work, or whether they ignorantly think that somehow vapors are just going to go back to cigarettes, which is clearly what they want in the tax revenue that the government raises each year from cigarettes. It's not going to happen.
Billions.
Billions. 14.3
Billions with a B.
$14.3 billion is what the Australian government netted in cigarette excise tax alone in the 2020 and 2021 financial year. So they love cigarettes, and they love the money they make from them, and they think that banning vaping is going to make them go back to cigarettes. Maybe a few will, but this shit's going to go underground, and it's not going to be any better in terms of their black market. You know,
It's going to be
objectives.
way easier for youths to get anything they want.
You
'Cause
make
it's
it you
not-
make it more bad. Like if you make it more illegal, that's just going to make it more appealing to a 14 or 15-year-old.
I mean, it's really clear anytime you ban a popular product, it just makes things worse. Just, you know, disposables are very popular in the US, and one of the biggest reasons is because of the Juul pod ban. Once they banned pre-filled flavored pods in the US, that's when disposables started getting popular. So they're playing whack-a-mole, where they ban one thing and then something that's worse, you know, that's maybe even more unregulated comes along. And who knows what'll happen if they ban disposables.
You know, the really sad thing is here that the name of this talk is Vaping Around the World. And there seems to be a common theme no matter who I talk to, no matter where in the world you are. Vaping is interrupting the pockets of some politician somewhere, and our health is not as important as the amount of money that they make. And that kind of pisses me off.
Kinda.
But
A lot.
especially, I have no experience with the Australian community. To come back a little bit to the community question, is there a strong community, vaping community in Australia?
Yeah, we have, again, like Nick was saying, it's very much online. The emergence of Facebook groups, of Zoom rooms, and you know, Patreon communities where people are coming together. And similar to Nick, you know, I've got Patreons from all around the world, but I have a very strong support from Australians. And, you know, they're in Facebook groups and they're discussing the latest products and where'd you get those awesome billet box doors from and how can I get a cool drip tip from my stubby. So they're online and that's not going to stop. And, you know, these smaller manufacturers, they're going to keep trading underground in their customized products and things like that.
And which consequences will it have with the new law? Do you think that will kill the Australian community?
No, I don't think it's going to kill the community at all. You know, if anything, people will be looking more about, oh, how do I find out about a vapor product? Because there won't be a vape shop to go to. There won't be an online store to go and look at the new products. They're going to be jumping into that Facebook group, that private Facebook group, and finding out about something new from the other community members.
The sad thing about that, that'll happen, right? I mean, we will never not be able to vape again. But what about the smokers that don't want to jump through hoops to get their vape products, right? Those are the people that we need to be concerned about. They're not going to go to Facebook groups. They're not going to go to forums. They're not going to go underground to find all this stuff. And we need to help those people live longer lives, right? So we need this product to be available easily for people to get.
Yeah, I'm totally agree here. So in regard of time, I would say, let's close the round with one question for each of you. So, special from Worldwide Vaping. If you would have a wizard and you have a wish free, what would be your main wish for Worldwide Vaping now? All is fine, no wishes?
Maybe that Mike Bloomberg just disappears, you know? Like nobody knows where he is. Like, where'd Mike go? Oh, I don't know, he's gone. Oh, okay. And then everybody goes, anyway.
Matt, what would be your wish?
My wish is that, you know, the UK is successful in their fight, you know, to become smoke-free by 2030. I think at that point, you're not going to, you know, no country is going to be able to turn their back on that. And the evidence is going to be pretty clear. And so my wish is that the rest of the world follows, you know, and I think that that's probably going to happen in a logical, you know, world, but who knows?
So my wish would be no regulations. No, I mean, obviously intelligent regulations. No tax, no flavor bans. Make it very easy for these for people to get these products. But like I always say, even in the United States, if there were no issues at all, we still need to educate the public because the public has heard over and over and over again through mainstream media that vaping is evil. And vaping is like the cigarette will kill you in a week, but if you use this, you're going to die tomorrow. So even with everything resolved and fixed, we still need education and we need people to understand what we're doing, tobacco harm reduction, and that this is not the evil that they think it is. People need to be educated.
Yeah, I think it would just be a simple thing for me, for particularly the Australian government and health regulators, but also globally for all of those representatives. And they are representatives; they are elected by these people to you know, serve us. For them and the general public to just like listen to the science, because it is mind-boggling how these politicians and so-called, a lot of them health experts, we have, you know, members of the medical community in Australia that are ignoring the very, very clear science that it's not, oh, we've been testing this for a year or two, that has been studied for over a decade now by some of the most respected medical institutions in the world. And still, I have people telling me on the street, oh, that's worse than smoking. And that just blows my mind that we can have so much evidence to show that something is safer, not healthy, but a healthier alternative that is going to save lives, and we still ignore that and allow the sale of a very proven deadly product. Just fucking listen to the science, people. That's all I want.
On the end, I would also add here maybe my personal wish. First, I would totally follow you to say to our governments, think about here to the science and not to the money. Don't follow the money. more follow the science and maybe take a look over the borders and maybe take the Great Britain, for example, as a role model. For me, that is the right way that we should follow. We in Germany, we have around about 120,000 dead people per year from tobacco products. And I guess the e-cigarette is, for me, the most positive and product that could really bring this change on an easy and convenient way. And therefore, that would be my wish. Hear to the science, follow the science and not the money. Thank you very much for the round.
Thank you.
Yeah.